Inside the Galveston Island Convention Center, Brenda Teague clutched her phone to her ear and paced in a tight circle.
Who are you?
She demanded. The man's reply was a silky calm whisper.
Do not be alarmed. You have been summoned here for a reason.
Summoned?
Brenda felt like a caged animal.
Try kidnapped.
Hardly.
The man's voice was eerily serene.
You came on your own accord. I merely provided a means for it to happen.
He let the words hang for a moment.
My intentions are purely noble, I assure you. I would simply like to offer you an invitation.
No thanks.
Ever since her last publication, called The Religious Lie, there were conservative extremists that relentlessly hounded her, both in her personal life and in the media. Brenda knew this made her a magnet for religious nutcases, and this one had just crossed a very serious line.
Look, I don't know what is going on here, but I'm hanging up.
She started to say.
That would be most unwise. Your window of opportunity is very small if you want to save Glen Moody.
Brenda drew a sharp breath.
What did you say?
I'm quite sure you heard me.
The way this man had uttered Glen's name had stopped Brenda cold.
What do you know about Glen?
She demanded.
By this point, I know his deepest secrets. Mr. Moody is my guest, and I can be a persuasive host.
Brenda's mind was still reeling. This can't be happening, she kept saying to herself. Brenda started tapping herself with the palm of her hand to her head, saying to herself, wake up, wake up, wake up. Seeing this was truly a reality, she finally responded.
You don't have Glen.
I answered his private cell phone. That alone should give you pause.
I'm calling the police.
No need.
The man continued.
The authorities will join you momentarily.
What is this lunatic talking about? Brenda's tone hardened.
If you have Glen, put him on the phone right now.
That's quite impossible. Mr. Moody has found himself trapped in an unfortunate place. He is in the Araf.
Brenda realized she was clutching her phone so tightly her fingers were going numb. The Araf? The place of those whose good deeds and sins are equal, the same state the Roman Catholics call purgatory. The man's religious and literary references solidified Brenda's suspicion that she was dealing with a madman.
You're saying you think Glen Moody is in purgatory?
A crude word Christians use. You might understand it as do ought.
Brenda knew that he was now pertaining to the Egyptian underworld, which referenced the entrance that could be reached by the living, by traveling through the tomb of the already deceased. The man's words hung in Brenda's ear.
Are you saying Glen is dead?
Not exactly.
Not exactly?
Brenda yelled, her voice echoing sharply in the hall. A family of tourists looked over at her. She turned away and lowered her voice.
Death is usually all or nothing, you lunatic.
You surprise me. I expected you to have a better understanding of the mysteries of life. There is a world in between, a world in which Glen Moody is hovering at the moment. He can either return to your world, or he can move on to the next, depending on your actions right now.
Brenda tried to process his statement.
What do you want from me?
It's simple. You have been given access to something quite valuable and ancient, and tonight, you will share it with me.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
On the contrary, I think you do.
The man's voice was less calm now.
You pretend not to understand the ancient secrets that have been entrusted to you?
Brenda felt a sudden sinking sensation as she came to a realization of what this must be about. She remembered a 52-foot-long scroll that her and her colleague had found at Saqqara in Egypt roughly a year ago. It contained chapters from the Book of the Dead. It was recently restored and translated into Arabic and is now on display at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Look, if this is about the scroll, I can assure you I have no access to that.
Don't insult my intelligence. I have no interest in anything so frivolous as the Book of the Dead or mankind's pathetic debate over whose version of history is correct. Circular arguments over the semantics of faith hold no interest for me. Those are questions answered only through death.
The stark words left Brenda confused.
Then what is all this about?
The man paused for several seconds as though to regain his composure.
As I'm sure you're aware, there exists within this city a Jean Lafitte treasure.
Brenda vaguely remembered that Jean Lafitte was a pirate who inspired many stories of romance and adventure across the Gulf of Mexico during the early 19th century. Rumor has it that he stole 2 million in silver from a Spanish galleon and buried it. People have searched for this supposed loot for decades and found nothing. For her part, Brenda thought it was a wild goose chase and a complete waste of time.
You want me to give you buried treasure?
Tonight, Brenda, you will locate and bring me this ancient wealth. You should be honored I contacted you. This is the invitation of your lifetime and you alone have been chosen.
Brenda responded almost automatically.
And you have lost your mind. I'm sorry, but you've chosen poorly. I don't know anything about where any treasure might be or what's in it. I can't just walk down the beach and casually dig it up.
You fail to understand, Brenda. It was not I who chose you, it was Glen Moody.
What?
Mr. Moody told me how to find the treasure, and he confessed to me that only one person on earth could open it. He said that little lady is you.
If Glen said that, he was mistaken or lying.
I think not. He was in a fragile state when he confessed that fact, and I am inclined to believe him given his circumstances.
Brenda felt a stab of anger.
I'm warning you. If you hurt Glen in any way.
She could hear the amusement in the man's voice.
I've already taken what I need from Glen Moody. For his sake, I suggest you provide what I need from you. Time is of the essence, for both of you. I suggest you find the treasure and open it. My next instructions will be handed to you by Glen himself.
I thought you said Glen was in purgatory.
As above, so below.
Brenda felt a deepening chill. This strange response was an ancient Hermetic adage that proclaimed a belief in the physical connection between heaven and earth. As above, so below. Brenda eyed the vast room and wondered how everything had veered so suddenly out of control tonight.
Look, I don't know how to find any treasure. I'm going to hang up and call the police.
It really hasn't dawned on you yet, has it? Why you were chosen. It will, any moment now.
The line went dead. Brenda stood rigid for several terrifying moments, trying to process what had just happened. Suddenly, in the distance, she heard an unexpected sound. It was coming from the exhibit hall. Someone was screaming.